Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. At GSD, we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. We have a venture studio, we've got a superscaler, we've got a marketing group, and we also got a software development. We believe to have a 360-degree approach in order for success. So I'd like to welcome each of you to GSD Silicon Valley AI and Tech, where we explore the technology reshaping humanity. From artificial intelligence and quantum computing to the future of health, longevity, and human potential. Today's episode sits at the intersection of AI, biology, and one of the biggest questions of our time. What if we could move from trial and error medicine to signal-driven, AI-accelerated cures and extend not just lifespan, but true health span? Joining us today are two extraordinary leaders building exactly that future. Elaine Phan, founder of Matrix Edge Therapeutics, is a biopharma leader with over 20 years worth of experience spanning drug discovery, preclinical development, CMC manufacturing, regulatory strategy, and post-market lifecycle management. She's contributed multiple FDA and EMA approved therapies, served as an AI strategist for the NIH initiative, trained through NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute, and brings scientific depth from UC Berkeley and Stanford, combined with entrepreneurial rigor from Georgia Tech and Draper University. And alongside her is Andreas Taylor, co-founder and CTO of Matrix Edge Therapeutics, a former Genentech scientist with more than 15 years in biopharma. Andreas combines deep expertise in biochemistry, drug discovery, CMC, and delivery systems with advanced AI architecture, including agentic AI systems. He's also a blockchain and quantum computing enthusiast, thinking boldly about the computation of future medicine. Together, they're building what they call signal, cure, longevity, an AI infrastructure layer that continuously integrates patient signals across biology, data, and time to enable deeper disease subtyping, reduce trial and error treatment, accelerate cure development, and extend human lifespan. Their medicine, their tools won't just improve, it will fundamentally transform. So today we're diving into how continuous patient signal plus AI can accelerate cures, reshape clinical trials, and redefine longevity itself. And so with that, I'd like to bring them onto the show. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Andreas.
Hello.
Oh,
So let's go back to the beginning. So, Elaine, what problem in biopharma frustrated you so deeply that you knew the industry needed a completely new infrastructure?
yes. I felt like being a mother, I've had so many issues where I've seen my child get sick and we haven't been able to fix the issue, and then we have to go through so many different trials and errors, and it still hasn't been resolved. So this is why I've been really deeply passionate about this field.
No, you talked about signal cure longevity. What does that actually mean in practical, scientific, and technological terms?
What I see is that now that we have medical devices and ways to track ourselves. When I was pregnant, I had just gestational diabetes, and I realized that I had to wear a glucose monitor machine. And there I was able to track my blood glucose and able to see exactly when and where and how my body reacted to things I ate, where if I walked, I exercised. And there I realized that we can actually um, not only see a picture or a glimpse of what's going on in our body, but we can now turn it into like a movie and make changes and immediately.
You know, Andreas, why is this the moment with AI, continuous data streams, and computational biology completely different from the past 20 years of precision medicine promises?
Well, I think we have the tools in place in terms of machine learning and AI, and also a different mindset about the advantages of pooling larger data sets together and looking at some of this data that could give us a head start and also kind of the idea of like health being not just avoiding disease but improving quality of life. I think this is something people are trying to biohack their own biology these days, and people are trying to figure out what's the best way I can live my most optimum health span, and not just how can I deal with diseases once they arise. So I think that it's really, there isn't anything quite like a unified system or a way for people to be in control of their own genetic and health information out there right now. So there's an opportunity and a whole bunch of tools coming together to make it a really good time for this type of adventure right now.
Okay, so Elaine, why is medicine still largely trial and error despite decades of genomics and biomarker research?
Yes, I think because patients are now just going into the doctor. I was reading your book and I realized like we just come in once a year to do an exam, and then we just get a picture of that year. And then we wait a whole year, even to do mammograms. You wait till you're in a certain age group and then you can take it, and you have no idea what's going on the whole year sitting there. But now we can actually take this in our own hands and try to test it ourselves with wearables and medical devices.
I mean, that's the future. The future is an integrated 360-degree approach and continuous monitoring, so we can take care of problems before they're an issue. Now, you're right, and thanks for reading my book. I appreciate it. I've been getting a lot of feedback, actually, about the book. As a poor country boy put this thing together. But by the way, I had my third full body stem cell replacement last week. So I'm now one of, so there was 10,600 have done it. There's 31 of us have done it 3 times, actually.
Wow.
So it's quite interesting. It changes everything. And so, when we look at continuous patient signals, are we talking about, we mentioned wearables, omics, imaging, microbiome, blood panels, digital twins. Is it all of those or is it some of those?
I think people should be able to have the opportunity to decide what they like to do, because everybody is different and doctors obviously have their view and what they need to see. But like you said in your book, we need to think about preventative. As we age and get older, we think, oh, this is actually like how I'm, a lot of people, you're the average. This is normal as you age, and what your experience is very common amongst the average people. But do we really want to be at that stage? Do we want, like maybe we can work earlier in our lives and we won't reach that trajectory using different types of wearables. And you're doing exams, blood exams, genomics, looking at MRIs, all kinds. And I feel like there isn't just one tool.
One of the challenges, I call it medical infobesity. Part of the problem is that we have so much data. I mean, think about it. There's 176 zettabytes of data on the planet Earth today. If we took DVDs or CDs and stacked them one on top of another, they would go 128 times between the Earth and the Moon today. And so the challenge is, how do we go down through and make sense of this data? And by the way, the increase in data every year is 69.6%. So the problem is the data. It's not that it's not out there, it's how do we make sense of it? And so I love what you're doing, because going down through and understanding where we are helps us to be able to live longer. That goal of 150 is not that far away when we take a very integrated approach, which is, I love what you're doing. One of the things you said, Elaine, is that you had gestational diabetes. So how does AI enable deeper disease subtyping beyond traditional labels like gestational diabetes or stage 3 cancer?
Exactly. What I notice is, my body type, my genetics might be different from my neighbor's, and she might be pregnant and have gestational diabetes also. So when I eat certain foods, I might digest it differently. So my blood glucose might spike at different things I eat. So that's a subtype. I'm very different. I might exercise more or less than my neighbor. So we got to look at how that glucose is being continuously breaking down in my body, and how using a glucose monitor, I was able to actually think about each day what I ate, what levels was my glucose. And I also can test it with my blood exam, taking a prick on the finger. And so you're able to see multiple ways of how to analyze this data. But the best part is it's very precision and personal. And that's so important because everyone's different, and we're not looking at this when we think about diabetes. There's so many subtypes and ways to stratify it.
No, I agree with you 100%. So, by the way, what's happening now, I have 14 large language models, and she's going through your backgrounds and coming up with questions. So just FYI. So if someone's like they're in the left field, they're going through all the research you've written, your own personal background. So now she says, and I say she's like my grandmother, right? She says, Andreas, from a technical perspective, how do you build AI systems that integrate noisy multimodal biological data into something actionable?
Well, you need large sets of data over periods of time, and it's good to consider collecting as much data as you can, because there might be some small connections that you cannot see or like foresee as a designer of the experiment in the first place. So I think that it's important to give the models a chance to look at some correlations that you haven't seen before. And also so it's kind of like there's a bit of novelty research where you want to collect as much information as you can, but not to become so burdensome that it becomes impossible to handle all of it. But we're looking for correlations and causations that aren't being determined, aren't being explored at this point now. So I think the best way is to catch a broad net and then take a look at what you've got afterwards, and find better ways to intervene earlier on, maybe newer signals. Like if we collect data from people that are healthy, and then during the course of collecting the data, they might become sick, and we can look at their previous biomarkers and blood work and other health data to see if there's any early indicators that we could have been watching all along, and try to weed out some of those early signals that we can use to stop the disease progression before it becomes too late and very expensive to deal with. We want to incentivize a system that benefits from the efficiency of early disease detection.
No, I love that. So Elaine, you trained through NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute and are building agentic systems. I don't know, did both of you go to NVIDIA's training?
Yes.
Okay, so this question is from actually this Andreas, and let's go through it a little bit more technically. So you've trained through NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute and are building agentic systems. How do AI agents change drug discovery workflows?
Well, it can allow people to initiate a model with just basic like language understanding of what they're trying to look for, and it also allows the model to come up with different aspects you might not have considered for in the first place. But the idea is to make it very achievable to get really important statistical data from large data sets with a simple interface, like talking to ChatGTP or conversational kind of exchange, versus having to have a whole background in data science and trying different models at just to see like what the outcomes are like. You can automate a lot of those things now. It's sometimes You can decide, what kind of things you're looking for, and it might have a lot of recommendations about things you haven't thought of before in the first place. So it's more of like a helper than just a straight up statistical tool.
So Elaine, can you quantify how much inefficiency exists in today's therapeutic development model, and why is it important to make a change?
Yes, it takes so many years. Andreas and I, we worked on drugs and diseases for over like 15 years. And a lot of the times we just sit there and we work on 3 years on a drug and it might die and it fails and doesn't work. And then there's other ones that we've been working on that we see work really well. And we're like, why? Why is this? Why does one drug and disease work well? It's really about the team, and sometimes inefficiencies happens because communications is not always there, and sometimes people leave companies and the knowledge from people here. So it's important to have AI, and we to be there to collect data and help remind those in the lab and those working on the drugs that what previous experiments worked and didn't work. Another thing is, documentation. Had to use notebooks. Those kind of take time away from the lab and scientists, and that's kind of inefficient because sometimes people don't finish it in time. They have to stay later. And in the lab, we have in manufacturing, you can think about some of the methodology doesn't work because it's not scalable. You'll develop an idea and research, but then you realize when you go to process development, you have to reinvent the wheel because what they put in a mice model can't be put in a human anymore, or it's unscalable.
Can you walk us through a hypothetical patient journey? By the way, this is so my AI is like my grandmother, Neen. I called Nanny, and she just asked us, can you walk us through a hypothetical patient journey under today's model versus continuous signal AI stratified model? Andreas?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Can you walk us through a hypothetical? She wants to know a hypothetical patient journey under the current model versus your continuous signal AI stratified model.
Okay, well,
I don't know where she pulled that up, but does that make sense to you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of didn't quite get it the first time. Well, the journey, I think, would be involving getting people that want to be involved with an early detection network that don't know that they're going to be sick with something, and so you're trying to collect these longitudinal data sets that are encompass their life and earlier, and start detecting signals that we would have overlooked beforehand, in order to determine, like, if we can figure out an early way of determining a health condition that's occurring with them. So so instead of like waiting for pathology, we could be actually actively looking into some of the results to figure out, like, how do we prevent this in the first place, to the point where maybe we won't even have to use a prescription drug. Maybe we can use lifestyle intervention. So we're looking at using, there's much more options you have when you catch something earlier on. You can use, you don't have to go directly to the last resort, which would be pharmaceuticals with severe side effects and things like that. We can work on lifestyle choices and health choices and things like that, and stress reduction, or and you can also get like other information, like you can combine like some EEG data with how their brain is functioning. What kind of anxiety are they experiencing? What kind of overall well-being are they experiencing? What's their mental state like? What are their brain waves telling us about how their well-being is going? And then also we can also determine, like, if early on, if this person would benefit from a certain type of treatment. So you're not doing a trial and error of being like, well, in a statistical pool of people, this drug works for most people, but you can determine that this drug might not work for this person, as well as it works for others, and try an alternative course, and not just try to put everyone into the same box and be like, this is all one encompassing indication. It's actually a heterogeneous, like subgroups of different versions of the disease. So when you get people more specified, they get better treatment that's more tailored towards their genome, their biology, and their history.
Given your experience contributing to FDA and EMA approved therapies, how could AI-driven signal infrastructure change regulatory pathways, Elaine?
Yes, that's a great one, because a lot of times people think, maybe we can't customize drugs. But actually, I just read in an article in The Economist, is that in British, they have a company called Everyone Medicine, and they are making individual drugs for people. And so, and the FDA and also the regulatory in Britain is looking into this. We might have patients who are at the last dire need of a drug, and sometimes they might be able to test these clinical trials for these patients so that they have a chance to live longer. So as you say, maybe as we see and have continuous monitoring, like a time series, we can show the government and the FDAs that it is a possibility to use different types of markers, and we can change and make change. And if a lot of people get together, what I saw when I worked with rare genetic diseases, I saw parents and families get together, and all those people in the community is able to push and make changes for the future.
So is the future about discovering new? Was that directed to me or Andreas?
To you, Gary. Like, what do you see for the future of?
I mean, the future is a very integrated approach. The problem is that we have, said, the sum of the parts equal the whole. And the problem is we can discover that we've got a problem, but getting the pharmaceutical companies that sometimes have opposite goals, right, to be able to take care of something, it's a problem, right? The cancer is a big moneymaker for folks. And so if we have we had one of the companies inside of GSD last cohort that's a cancer vaccine. Now said they've got some cancer vaccines, right? We have some for things like papilloma. But is it really, you can't make a lot of money if somebody's got a vaccine. So is it, how fast can we get it to market? And then who's going to do it? Who's the doctor that can administer it? So are they at Stanford or Harvard or in Florida? Where are they? So I think the next part of it is connecting the dots. Who can do it? And that kind of integrated approach is going to work. So on the front end of it, if we've got a hyper intelligent assistant, just like I'm using right now, that's got 14 models in it, and it comes back with guidance and tells you, listen, it not only looks at what's happening, but it starts to tell you and sets an appointment up for you to be able to go down and get that done, and creates a sense of urgency for that doctor. It's like concierge doctors on steroids. It's critically important. Our system is screwed up. It's highly, highly inefficient. It's crazy, actually. We have all these smart people like you, right? I'm just a country boy from the farm. But there's smart people like you that can do this. We got to come with an integrated approach. And if we do that, we're going to win. The good news is by doing exactly what you're doing, you're starting to put your finger on the problem. So the problem exists. Now the situation is we need to take action to move it forward. And that's it. And it's going to happen because, using these incredibly advanced AI tools, they're doing things. I built a cancer vaccine, right, a year ago for my dog, and I don't know anything about it. But if I can do that, imagine what smart folks like you can do. Anything, right? You can do anything. And for all of us out there, these future technologies like the stem cells that I've had done are going to change things. And it's not just for people that have money. It should be for everybody. We should all have an opportunity to live better, higher quality lives. It's crazy. And so, the cost of health insurance is through the roof. But if we have technologies just like yours, Elaine and Andreas, to help us identify the problem before it's an issue, we can solve it. It's a whole lot easier to solve stage 1 breast cancer than it is stage 4 when it's metastasized. So we got to catch it early. So I love it. So, is the future about discovering new biomarkers or making better use of signals we already collect? What do you think, Andreas?
I think it's a combination of both, depending on the disease you're going after. I think there's plenty of indications that there are some biomarkers that haven't been utilized correctly to determine subpopulations and to stratify patient groups into different clinical trials. So that's going to be one aspect of it, but there's also going to be things that we cannot foresee yet that we can put together. So it's going to be, in some cases, just looking at the data that we might already have, and in some cases, it's going to be like maybe using some AI, like network analysis of molecular biology, molecular pathways and stuff to look for other potential biomarkers that we might want to be looking at. It might suggest to us, like, this looks like this might be involved in this signaling pathway, and let's come up with different candidates we can test out for new biomarkers. And so it's a combination of utilizing what we have already and using some predictive insights to maybe come up with new things to look for that we weren't looking for before, maybe by either blood work or breath analysis. You have dogs that can detect cancer and all that kind of stuff. If we can determine a high accuracy method of finding these molecules in breath and things like that, we can just start capturing more data as kind of like looking at what we are already knowing we're looking for, but also looking for what is the next indicator that we can find for early detection or diseases that are interconnected to each other or complicate each other or things like that, or health, or just like, combining. If we're collecting also what kind of medicines these people are on, we can kind of come up with like different things that might be exacerbating some of the side effects or causing other problems that we weren't expecting as well. And these are just things that you can't possibly foresee with the human mind, in the first place. So you have to kind of catch a broad net and catch some of them also through novel research as well. But we can get some insights into what to look into through some molecular modeling AI type of stuff.
Well, she's going to have some more questions for you in a second. She just wrote some stuff about quantum computing. But Elaine, how does your large-scale population data factor into your strategy?
Yes, large population. If you think about it, like there's so many data in is data out when you look into the model. So when you want to look at the model and think about clinical trials, you have to be more specific and subtype your patients. So that way you can have people in different groups. Like what you said, you had stage 3 kidney to stage cancer, and you're using stem cells to help with the inflammation. And that's so important. But how you got there might have been so different than somebody else who had that, who is also at stage 3 cancer. And if we can prevent getting there and looking at how each person got to stage 3 kidney cancer, then or kidney disease, you're able to really filter out and then find ways to prevent it for specific groups of populations. People from all over the world, yes.
I know, I agree with you. And, but the great news is you're right on the forefront of this thing of making that dent in the universe. So, Andreas, you've experienced across CMC and manufacturing, right? How can AI optimize not just discovery, but scalability and consistency?
Well, it can be, it can be used in a very typical sense, like people have been using for design of experiments, like using MATLAB and that's kind of simulating software kind of things for designing, an experimental matrix of what you're going to be testing for. So that's already been going on for quite a while now. But I think that what we could be doing is also, just now that we know how valuable data can be, we can be collecting data about manufacturing in, just wholesale collection of it, and looking for trends and ways to speed up the development process, and how to anticipate certain problems that might occur based on, historical data. And so it's going to be, it might not be in be the fruits of it might not come immediately, but with some time and data collection and some longitudinal data sets, you can look at how you can more efficiently pursue some of these things, because a lot of times the drugs don't get to market because the company runs out of money. And so that efficiency can actually help the patients as well, because you're also getting the drug to market that might, if the burden of experimental design and all these different things and trial and error becomes too much, that you might not make it to market, and no one gets to benefit from the medicine at all.
So we have a question from the audience out there. So this is for both of you. How do you think precision medicine will eventually shift healthcare from, do you think precision medicine will eventually shift healthcare from reactive to proactive prevention?
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
sure. We both believe that. We can see it with you. Amazing how you saved your dog, and now you can prevent it from occurring. And we can also help other animals and other situations when
Well,
patients.
I mean, we just got to get it out there. The problem is people don't know, right? And, I'm not sure, like I said, it's a best interest of some companies for these kind of cures to come through, and I mean, our system is not set up like that, but I'm sure it'll change. Andreas, she's come back to me and she said, "You're a blockchain and quantum enthusiast. How do you see quantum computing impacting molecular simulation or optimization?"
Well, that will be revolutionary. It's been like the holy grail of biochemistry and molecular biology and all this stuff, has been like protein folding and simulation, and binding of small molecules or inner protein reactions and things like that. And so this used to be like when I was in college, I was doing undergraduate research, and we were working with the computer science department at UC Santa Cruz, and we were doing a double-blind study where we're using crystallography to determine protein structures, and also using computational methods to determine protein structures. So once you can do it computationally, you can just, the sky's the limit. You can start looking at all kinds of different potential interactions or molecular different pathway interactions that you hadn't thought of before, because you can see that these two proteins would bind with each other and things like that. So we're looking at like a whole nother frontier of, we can do that much computation that quickly and efficiently and energy, then you can start casting a broader net, and doing a bunch of theoretical data sets that you back up also with some lab experiments. But you can also, you can also use the lab experiments to create training data that you can create even better molecular modeling softwares. I mean, some people are doing this kind of stuff already. And so when you have, you're also going to get cheaper ability to do certain kinds of like things like there's like a substitute for surface plasmon resonance, which is a binding affinity determinator. So when the cost of these experiments comes down in combination with the computation, you have this incredible synergy where you can they build on each other, and you can get you can solve things that we never even would have thought of being able to solve before. And I think it really comes down to preventative maintenance. Preventative care should be, there's gonna have to be a paradigm shift where the people that, like the drug companies, are gonna have to be somehow incorporated with the insurance companies, so the people that are in charge of paying for your care benefit from the early detection. Because in this system now, where the money is made of long-term like healthcare, that of people slowly getting sick for a long time and taking medicine every day for a long time, it's not a system that's gonna work. So we're trying to change the whole entire the way things are done, so that there's incentives for early detection. And some of those computational models will come up with new those binding. The quantum computing will come up with different binding ideas that we haven't looked at before to figure out which biomarkers to specifically look for.
So, Elaine, do you envision AI interventions, adjusting supplementation, drugs, lifestyle in real time?
Yes, for sure. I feel like we see that now, just with like current, like what I did, glucose monitoring. And you see that happening immediately. Like when I'm sitting there and I realize like checking my glucose, it's going off. They're like, you stand up and you go for a walk. You realize like, what should I eat later? Think about it. And then when you go to see a primary care, you can actually show them your time series data from your medical device, and then they can actually help you make changes. And you might not even have, like, I end up not having to take any medication because I was able to look and see the changes and make changes to prevent myself to take medication. And also I saw that like this is like a sign for the future. You know, the doctors always tell you, you have gestational diabetes. In the future, there's a chance that you'll get diabetes. So it definitely changed the way of life. And now I'm doing preventative medicine, preventative healthcare, and whole body care.
So who owns the continuous patient signal data?
We're looking at having it basically controlled by the patient, and giving licensing to the companies that want to use it. And you can't technically own like your own genetic data like outright, but you can control it through a legal framework of, you know, like the permissions allowed for it. So this would be an opportunity for, and people are tired of just having their data collected wholesale and sold off in huge batches and behind closed doors and used for whatever, you know. So the reason we're talking about using blockchain is not to like try to tokenize this or create cryptocurrency. It's more like creating accountability of the ledger, being able to, so once you become a part of the ecosystem, you can see your data and how it's been accessed over time. And that's the reason for the blockchain incorporation, is just accountability. And so, like I said, there's no legal way for the people to own the data, but they would control the licensing and be able to delete it or withdraw at any time if they want to, but also benefit, especially some certain individuals will be particularly of interest to companies, and they could probably be approached with like an inter-system email or chat, message system that says, would you be interested in receiving information about being part of a clinical trial for something that so they want to be involved because they can get insights about their health into the future by participating in this, collective collection of human data, so we can solve more problems. But also maybe they might be approached to be like, hey, do you want to try this early clinical trial, and it could benefit them financially as well. Or if they if they're potentially going to get sick, they might just be interested in trying to solve the disease, solve some of the problems that are associated with it so that they don't get sick. So the idea is to not turn into a big black box mechanism that takes your data and sells it off to who knows where. It's going to be very transparent, and it's not technical ownership, but it's control and ability to opt out if you want to.
No, that sounds good. Listen, we're coming up to the top of the show. So just short answers. One breakthrough disease you're most excited about. Breakthrough disease cure you're most excited about. Anything come top of mind?
There's like the obvious ones. I mean, there's like things that a lot of people are still suffering from, like Parkinson's.
Well, there you go. Let's just go stick with Parkinson's. I agree with you. By the way, I've seen stem cells with Parkinson's patients do miraculous things, and ALS, and and the supranuclear cerebral palsy. So I think the one thing we got to look at, one technology that will surprise people. Is there some technology out there, Elaine, that would surprise people related to your environment?
Yes, I think people would be surprised about their ownership and understanding of the whole body. You know, people need to think about medicine not only as a compartmental like system, the heart, the lung, you know, like and liver, and but our whole body works together. And AI and toolkits will come out and show people that you might have a disease that's just affecting your heart or your kidneys or your liver, but actually something else is going on other parts of your body. And it's so important to look at the whole body and make those changes.
No, that's great. Listen, closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
I'd say the closing thoughts are, well, there's a lot of unknowns about this type of stuff, but I think we will want to encourage is that if we collectively combine our data, we can help us all have our health span become increased and be able to live with our families longer and more productively. And so the idea is we want to look at longitudinal data sets in order to create a bigger picture of what's going on with biology. And that will take some sacrifice for people to become part of the ecosystem and give up their data. And we can start with incentivizing people that are trying to get better because they're sick, but also we want to bring on board healthy people. So it's the potential for people to see the reward by participating in giving up some of their personal data into a encrypted infrastructure.
No, that's great. And how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yes,
Website, LinkedIn, what would
yes,
you?
you can get a hold of us on LinkedIn,
Yes.
our website, and we're excited to help the future of medicine. And we believe that the world will change and longevity will happen. And if we all work together, we'll see the future will extend life, and we'll realize that like preventative medicine is the key to all of this. We can all work together and help the future for our children, because you know I had children's later in life, and we have a huge population of elderly now that we all work together, and we can be there for our future grandchildren and children and see them grow up.
No, that's fantastic. And could you give the audience your website just so you know where to look?
Yes, it's matrixedge.com, matrixedgetherapeutics.com.
matrixedgetherapeutics.com. So check them out. Incredible company, going to make the world a better place. So thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules for joining us today. And thanks to all of you. We're now closing in on 1,600 podcasts. It's all because of you, with millions of views. So thanks to all of you for supporting us and watching our show. Check us out. We're in Google Play. We're in Amazon, Spotify, Apple. We're all over the place. Check us out because we want to make this world a better place. And Elaine and Andreas, you're doing exactly that. So it's great to have you here today. So for the audience out there, stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. And stay tuned for another exciting edition of GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Thank you very much. And thanks to both of you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.